This is a big step forward. It's a project that really was started 10 years ago with the building that we're standing in now, with the facilities that we built in our north end, and we continue with it now going on for the next several years. And once this is completed, we feel strongly that the stadium will be well positioned for its next 100 years.
And that was the voice of Josh Whitman, your Illinois athletic director, after the big news today that they'll be doing some major renovations to Memorial Stadium. We'll talk about it more as the show goes on, but in brief, they'll be doing a lot to the south end zone, a lot to the east side of the stadium. It'll increase both the fan experience, and they're going to have a lot of new amenities for the players. So welcome into Illini Drive. I'm Kevin McCarthy, alongside my co-hosts Jeff Ohmer and Peter Bailey-Wells. Producer man Will Gerard doing his thing as always, and social media man Ryan Wilson. Please interact with us on Twitter at Illini Drive. We'll be doing plenty of fun stuff throughout the show there, so we'd love to chat with you. You can also give us a call. We really want callers today because we want to know what you guys are thinking about the new drawings and paintings that they've put out about what the new stadium is going to look like. So give us a call, 217-337-1071. Once again, 217-337-1071. We'll take your calls throughout the first half of today's show. Gentlemen, how are we?
Not too bad.
Pretty good for a Monday, I would say. We're doing pretty well for Monday. We got a stadium renovation announcement to brighten up our week, distract a little bit from that loss on Saturday. But it was a good, interesting day. A lot of stuff we found out today about where this athletic department is headed.
Yeah, we'll get into that Nebraska game maybe in the second half of today's show, but we do believe the biggest news of today is this renovation. I keep wanting to say State Farm renovation because
we're used to that.
Because we had to say State Farm renovation like 1,000 times last year.
Yeah, we're used to that.
Still kind of saying it too, in a way.
Yeah,
true.
And
not quite. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. That hasn't gone away. And so now we're talking Memorial Stadium renovation. And I think first matter to get out of the way right away is that won't change. The name, no matter what, will not change. Josh Whitman made that very clear. There will not be a corporate sponsor.
It's Memorial Stadium and Zupke Field.
Yes.
Bob Zupke Field. It's not going to be Bob Zupke Field at Arby's Memorial Stadium.
Yeah.
Imagine.
And they might, he said.
Can you imagine?
Whitman said they might try to consider other creative ways to get corporate sponsors involved. I'm not sure what that would mean. Maybe certain seating sections or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
He said anything's on the table at this
point.
point.
Dunkin' Donuts porch.
Yeah, and that's another thing to be very clear about is that all this is very preliminary. I mean, the drawings are probably going to look somewhat like it's actually going to be. But Whitman said, we don't even have an architecture firm yet, so we don't know.
Right. Well, you guys will remember. I believe it was a couple weeks ago. They put out that request for services.
I applied.
Yep.
Kevin submitted his drawings. We asked you to send us your drawings. Kevin wanted an ice cream cone in the north end zone.
I heard they almost took that too.
Yeah, I know, it looks like they decided to go another way.
High on their list. Well, that wouldn't have taken all of their $132 million, so it would have saved them quite a few bucks.
Seriously, that's another thing. $132 million.
Just a large ice cream cone. It melts. You just put up a new one every 15 minutes or so.
Absolutely.
But anyway, so that deadline has not ended. It's ongoing. Architects can still submit their proposals, and those renderings that we saw today were actually from a few years ago, and that is not a definitive look. It's going to depend on the architects. It's going to depend on the athletic department. It's going to depend on Lovey. It's going to depend on his people who have to weigh in, trainers, equipment men, and women. All sorts of doctors, the people who are going to be taking up spaces. But the prospect of an elevated horseshoe, a big entrance hall, we're going to have play in a minute for you, Josh Whitman's list of demands, as it were, for all of the different things that are going to be added to that south end zone and east side. And it is going to be quite the place once it's all done. It sure sounds like.
And I'm just surprised by the timeline of this. The fact that they're able to get this done 2019, completely finish the 2020 season. How about how quickly that turnaround will be? And really, the Illini fans are going to be able to experience this new type of environment and culture around Memorial Stadium in just a couple years. It's pretty phenomenal that it can turn around so quickly.
Whitman said that was an ambitious timeline, and I thought it was really actually funny. He said, for those of you in the private sector, you might think that's a long time, but for those of us who work
used to working in a public state bureaucracy, especially in one as large as the University of Illinois,
What? The bureaucracy can't get things done efficiently? But I think there was so much to talk about here, and I am kidding. With so much to talk about here.
You don't have to be.
Okay, I'm not
kidding.
kidding.
Might be a fair point. Yeah.
It's not a joke at all. With so much to talk about here, I think the first thing to go over is cost. Peter, you mentioned north of $130 million. Do you want to talk about what else we learned today as far as cost is concerned?
So 90 to 95 million of that will be spent on the horseshoe, which they've talked about wanting to replace for a while and wanting to replace the quality of for a while. It's not the kind of facility that they want. Okay. The remainder of that, so anywhere from 30 to 40 million, will go towards
my bank account.
Kevin's fund for the ice cream cones. No, for the stand. And any number, he talked about making that more ADA accessible. He uses the term vertical transportation in the quote that I think we'll play for you, which is elevators. It's going to be for the restrooms. They're going to have a team store.
Upgraded concessions.
Kevin and I were bantering about the idea after the press conference. Someone suggested, I think maybe AP writer David Mercer suggested, was their thought of contacting the city and have them take Kirby Street and somehow merge the State Farm property with the Memorial Stadium property. Had that been considered? And Kevin and I were thinking you should just have a land bridge with Josh Whitman holding it up between the two properties.
Absolutely.
Sort of an atlas pose, and you drive through his legs. Anyway. But yeah, 90 to 95 roughly for the horseshoe, and the remainder for the east side. That's based on sort of preliminary examinations of it in 2015.
And the other big thing to mention is that no state dollars will be used. And,
yes. Important. This is important to note because
and no raise in tuition costs or a student fee or anything that.
Yeah, because our state is
broke.
Budget is suffering. Yes, broke is a good way of putting it. That is the proper term, I suppose.
Yes.
And I mean, you might have a beef with people being willing to throw this amount of money towards a stadium and not, say MAP grants. But as it stands, these are all donations. So this is people doing what they want with their money, and they are not going to be charging students more. They're not going to be pulling any public funds. So, I don't know.
Look, folks, you don't get to decide how other people spend their money.
Well,
that's just the thing. I mean, I think it's kind of ridiculous. Would I ever donate 7 figures? He said they've already gotten multiple 7-figure donations for this. Would I ever do that if I had all the money in the world? No way.
Right.
But if somebody else wants to do it to build a stadium, you go for it,
there's
man.
There's nothing we're doing to stop them. Yeah, I think right. You may question the judgment of the donors, but but Josh Whitman is not doing anything other than using the money that they're putting in front of him.
Yeah, and we mentioned some of the amenities already for fans. First, we're going to roll a clip here from your athletic director, Josh Whitman, talking about all the new player amenities that will be at Memorial Stadium.
Imagining in this new space will be a team locker room, sports medicine facility. Certainly you'll have your hydrotherapy space, your rehabilitation spaces, physician and consultation rooms. Mental health facilities have become more and more important as we move into this new era of college athletics. Recovery spaces, strength conditioning, meeting rooms for the team meeting room, positions, staff meeting rooms, certainly staff offices, recruiting spaces. Again, we talk about the value of facilities for the recruiting process, being sure that we have spaces that are devoted to that, undertaking our equipment room.
And you're listening to Illini Drive on WPGU 107.1, brought to you by the Illinois Fighting Illini. For tickets and information on the Illini, visit fightingillini.com or call 1-866-ILLINI-1. Once again, fightingillini.com or call 1-866-ILLINI-1 for more ticket information.
And it's important to note, as we'll be doing every day this week, that, we're going to be at the Hub.
We're going to be at the Hub.
I don't really know any way better to say it than that.
It's going to be lit.
We're going to be at the Hub on Friday. Illini Drive will be there 6 to 7 at corner 1st and Healy in Champaign. $5 taco plate, happy hour, ticket giveaways.
What else do you want?
Maybe a nice live guest.
We don't know.
Maybe we'll solicit questions from the crowd. Maybe Kevin will do karaoke. Anything. I heard, grapevine. Not necessarily to be trusted. Drizzy might be there.
Might be.
Might be. Might not be, but he might be.
Yep. I also heard Bruce Springsteen might be there, might not be, but he might be.
There's one. You got Bruce, you got Drizzy, one for each generation. If you come, they might be there. Might not, but even if they aren't, we'll be there.
Yeah, they could be there. Might not be, though.
We'll talk a little bit more about the Hub later in the show, and later this week, of course. But if we bring it back to the stadium, Whitman was talking about recruiting, and this has really been the biggest, maybe sort of on-the-field impact of this. Because, Lovey mentioned, and some of these players mentioned, the facilities now are fine. That's okay. 1985 facilities for a 1985 team. That's what Whitman pointed out. And that's not egregious. That's not 1945 facilities for a 1945 team. They can still play. The field still has 100 yards on it, and it still is wide enough, and they still have all of the footballs. You know what I mean? But recruits. Wes Lent pointed this out when I asked him, how did your recruiting play out in terms of facilities? What kind of impact did that have? And he said, you come from a conservative high school, or you come from somewhere, maybe in a rural place in Texas or in Florida or somewhere, talent-rich state kind of place, and you come and you see this glittering stadium at Oregon, or this glittering stadium at Nebraska, or the Horseshoe, or you go to the Big House, or you go to Camp Randall, or Kinnick, wherever. Not Ryan Field, but most of the Big Ten facilities.
Yeah. And probably not Rutgers.
And probably not Rutgers, yeah, that's right. And you go, wow, that's cool. Want to spend 4 to 5 years there. Totally. Be great. You see the Alabama locker room on Twitter, and, the renovations to the LSU locker room, and there's like a pool and the whole thing, and, Phil Knight is shilling out for stuff in Oregon. That's what they're trying. They're trying to put on for these kids and get them, as maybe sort of superficial as it might be, get them interested in Illinois for some reason or another.
I mean, yeah, you're right. It is superficial, but whenever we talk recruiting, you hear it all the time with basketball and gross misses on these big guys. Facilities is always like the second, maybe third thing. Sometimes it's the first thing you bring
it's
up.
like facilities and uniforms you kind of wrap into one, especially in basketball when it's very like shoes, swag, and basketball's got a little bit more of the swag thing about it than football does, unless maybe you're Oregon, in which case you sort of pump, that's your thing. But otherwise, in football, facilities really, really matter.
Yeah, and Josh Whitman today was asked about where he felt like their facilities were at right now. He said he thinks they're in the bottom quartile, and he wants to move up so that they're...
Great use of the word quartile, by the way. That's an Illinois education at work, folks.
It is, and he wants to get it to state-of-the-art, top of the line. And it's ambitious, but it looks like it's going to happen.
I would say that's got to be the biggest takeaway from today as well, just the focus on the future for the program, and that's really been what Josh Whitman has harped on ever since coming back here as the athletic director for Illinois. He's clearly got a plan for the future of this team and the future of the program at the university. So to know that this plan is going underway now and that the stadium will get renovated, it's got to have a great impact on the recruiting aspect and be a big tool to pull students in, just to give Memorial Stadium, like you said, Peter, just a little bit more of a glitter to it and an appeal that maybe it didn't have before to other Big Ten teams.
And it's interesting to note that it was brought up today that Josh Whitman sold this to Lovie Smith when he first visited and talked with Lovie in Tampa.
He had some extra rounds in his chamber there to fire at Lovie to get him interested.
Yeah, so Lovie mentioned that was part of the recruiting pitch. Josh talked about that. And then Lovie was asked about how long he's been using this in his recruiting pitch. He said since day one.
Since day one.
They haven't, maybe it hasn't been official, but they've been telling, potential recruits and kids, this is, if you come here, it depends on what year you are. Maybe your freshman, sophomore year, you're going to have these crazy new facilities.
Which further enforces the fact that, they are all in on Lovie Smith.
Absolutely.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing to be all in on. If you're going to be all in on something, it's better all in on Lovie Smith than all in on Tim Beckman.
Goes without saying,
but
yes.
If they had tried to, imagine if, say, they flip-flopped him and State Farm Center hadn't gotten renovated and Memorial Stadium had gotten renovated first, it would be a little weird. I don't know, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but you'd sort of be this feels like all one big push. You get the new coach, the new space, and just we're here. It sends a very strong message to kids that, we are 100% in on this team. We're 100% in on you playing on this team. We're 100% in on your coach, your mental health, your hydrotherapy, your, like Whitman listed the
Yeah.
stuff. They're all in on that stuff.
And I think you bring up a good point, Peter, because I don't know if we're talking about this renovation if we have Bill Culbit as the head coach, Tim Beckman as the head coach,
You got
Mike Thomas, athletic director.
You do have to wonder.
So I think it's just really interesting to see immediate impact that Whitman's bringing.
Whitman did point out this was not brought up during his interview,
Yeah.
which was something to note. So Whitman kind of walked into this, and the impression he gave is that he sort of stepped on the gas. This bus was parked outside Bielefeld, if you will, and he jumped in and said, "Let's drive this puppy.
Let's end the segment with that beautiful analogy.
Let's drive this puppy."
When we get back, plenty more Illini renovation talk as far as Memorial Stadium is concerned. We love to hear what you guys think of it. I'm sure you've seen the pictures on Twitter. If you haven't, go online, check it out, and then give us a call. Let us know what you think. You can dial in at 217-337-1071. We want your calls. We want to know what you guys are thinking.
We want them.
We want them, absolutely. It's clear that this Illini football team is all in for the future, and I'm sure many of you fans are all in too. So give us a ring. We'll be right back on Illini Drive in just a minute.
Hail to the orange. Hail to the blue. Hail alma mater. Ever so true. We love no other. So let our motto be victory. Illinois. Varsity. Secure your seats for Fighting Illini football today by phone at 1-866-ILLINI-1 or online at fightingillini.com.
We'll have a grand entryway that will have a lot of public spaces celebrating the great football tradition that we have here at the University of Illinois. A team store. We may or may not have student-athlete dining in that space. For our fans, a number of different facility improvements as well. Of course, we're undertaking work on both the east and the south. We'll have a new grandstand on the south end of the stadium. It will come all the way down to the field. We were just in Nebraska this weekend, and those of you who were there had a chance to see how close their fans are able to get to their end zone. Those of you who've been to Kinnick Stadium at Iowa, some of their fans, I think, even have their feet on the field. And I don't know exactly what that will ultimately look like for us, but our fans will get a much closer experience on the south. We will be offering enhanced concessions, restrooms, vertical transportation, which is a fancy term for elevators, making sure that our fans have ease of access to get up and down, particularly on the east side and I'm sure on the south as well. Our ADA seating, our accessible seating will be enhanced through this project also.
That was the voice of Josh Whitman, the director of athletics here at the University of Illinois, talking about the big renovations that they're planning for Memorial Stadium. So welcome back into Illini Drive. And, of course, we'd love to hear from you, 217-337-1071. What do you guys think about all that's happening with this Illini football program? Definitely a huge focus on the future. And if the Lovie-Smith signing, didn't sell it that this program was all in, then this renovation should, because clearly they are trying to build, as Josh Whitman said today, a team that can compete for national championships. Ambitious, yes. Realistic, who knows? But that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, the fan thing that he mentioned there is particularly noteworthy. The fact that they have so much space in that south end zone. I mean, just
It's like 20 yards.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's because there used to be a track and stuff, and they just never really addressed it, which also shows you how old that space is, that they haven't adjusted it since they took the track out, which, that's just weird. It's just odd. There's an odd amount of space. So it's great that they're taking advantage of changing it up.
Absolutely, because it's simply just wasted space as well when you look at the other stadiums around the league, as we've been saying, when the fans are literally just on top of the field. So to see that, there's 20 yards of just open grass there on the south side of that stadium, I'm happy to see that they're going to fill it up with at least stands to get those people closer to that action that's happening there.
And it's interesting to note that today Lovie was asked a question about, did he notice a difference between coaching at Memorial Stadium in Champaign and the one in Lincoln because of that south end zone, where in Lincoln the fans are right on the field, in Champaign they're so far away, and he brushed off the question and said, no, it doesn't make a difference. I just can't believe that at all. I mean, come on. Maybe it doesn't make a huge difference for the coaching staff. I guess I don't know. But if you're the players and you're going into that south end zone.
Yeah, and you want to celebrate with the fans, it's like, where are you?
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
So far away.
Or you're the visiting team and you have to stare at all these fans that are making all this noise right in front of you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're the opposing offense heading into that south end zone, there's almost no noise because the band's on the other side of the field and the horseshoe attendance is always weak. So now when they bring those stands down, you're going to have people like basically on top of the field. You know, Whitman said we're not sure what it's going to look like exactly, but we're definitely going to bring them way closer. We've been talking about this earlier in the year. It's a huge disadvantage to be so far away, and this will be a complete game changer as far as home field advantage is concerned.
And depending on how, the team performs and block eye attendance and things like that, they could potentially put sort of a separate student, put student overflow seats over there, right? So that you're going at students on either end, because the students are the ones making the most noise. You can't really put the band on both ends. You kind of have to put the band on one end, and where they are is fine, right? But if you stick students on that other end, they'll make noise when that team is going down. When the opposing team is going down and trying to score down there. It's really loud when you have those opposing teams going towards the north end zone late in the game, and Barry Hauser and his team are doing the rah, yelling thing, which is awesome, right? And the black eye is making noise too, but like you said, it's so unequal with this sort of sparse horseshoe attendance that maybe one solution. And horseshoe attendance is also solved by increased play, but maybe if they have overflow student seating really right in the front there, especially, that could make a difference.
That's really the main question that I have, too, now coming from these renovation plans that we've heard. I want to know what's going on with that student section and what they plan on doing with the north side of that end zone, because speaking of just being really far back and out of the field of play, it seems like those students are way up and out of Memorial Stadium over there on the north side at Block I. So I'm not sure how the stadium renovations will affect the student section, if they will even be affected at all by the stadium renovations, but I think the university's got to try and figure out a way to get those students closer now during these football games to have that home field advantage that you should have in the Big Ten.
Yeah, it sounds like there's no immediate plan on that end, but like Peter mentioned, if you get a winning football program, then that
solves a lot of your problems.
Yeah, that student section is going to be overflowed every single game, so you likely would get to move some of them into that south end zone. The other thing is, the real reason why the horseshoe attendance right now is so poor is because the football team hasn't been very good, obviously.
Right.
But when you look at these drawings, those seats will become so much more appealing. Because another part of the reason is people don't want to buy those seats because you can't see anything. If you're in one of those corners, that's brutal.
Right.
And so I think with the new, it's not an exact drawing yet, but it's going to look something like that. Those seats are going to become way more appealing, whether they're good or not. And then once they are good, the place is going to sell it every time.
Right. It's going to be, like right by that main entrance. You talk grand entrance hall right there. There's going to be a bunch of boxes, presumably a bunch of food, higher up too, so a greater incline if you're higher up in the stands, you can see more. Whitman pointed out that the overall attendance might not really increase all that much.
Were you surprised by that? I was
a little bit, but it also made perfect sense when he explained it. You talk about a stadium that's as old as Memorial Stadium is, and when you do things, especially in terms of ADA accessibility, changing the east stands the way they're hoping to change it, and you widen some aisles, you take out some benches and stuff. That's what's going to happen. I don't think it surprises me, and I don't think it really, once he explained it, didn't surprise me, and it also doesn't bother me. I don't think it really matters if they hit 70. Maybe once upon a time they can fill in the north corners where the towers are. You know what I mean? And we could have a bowl. That would be wild. But until that point, 60's fine. I don't know. It doesn't bother me. I think you can hear it in that North Carolina game. You can hear it, late in the year last year against, Ohio State and stuff. It gets loud when people show up and care. So it's not about the numbers per se as it is. And again, a winning team solves a lot of your problems. People just showing up.
And how about how the balance of how that stadium's going to look now from, let's say, an aerial shot when it's going high on both the north and south side, and it will just look a lot more complete. And
I agree.
It will fit in, I'd say, with the other Big Ten stadiums as well, where the fans actually seem like they're there and in the seats and filling everything up. Obviously, this would happen in time. But
No more appearances on Deadspin.
it's going to look like a lot more of a legitimate stadium and seating area for the fans to go and watch the game.
Yeah, the way the stadium is constructed right now, it sort of looks like they built the north, east, and west ends, and then they're like, oh, crap, we're out of money, but we got to throw something on this south end.
Yeah.
And they just kind of like, what do you guys think? All right, let's throw a couple thousand seats there. It just looks so
Right.
bad. And I don't know. The thing my biggest takeaway out of this, well, there's two. Number one is just that Josh Whitman in this Illinois program is even more all in than I realized. You know, I knew that they
120% all in. Yeah.
I knew they really wanted to turn this thing around, but when they talk about trying to compete for national titles, they mean it. And then my second
It's
thing
not
is
lip service.
absolutely, and what I'm saying in that is that it's going to increase their recruiting pitch like you can't imagine, and so that's where the big football difference is made, because there's going to be so many more amenities for these guys. And then the second takeaway is, if you're a fan, you should be pumped about this, because it doesn't change anything for you, because all this is donor money. And
They're going to try to keep the prices. He was saying today he doesn't know for sure, but they're going to try to not change the price as much.
Yeah, so for a fan,
If at all.
So for a fan, there's no negatives. You get better seating options, better concessions, better bathrooms, better elevators.
Maybe like a Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
We're talking about maybe a Dick Butkus statue, stuff that they might do. This is not, again, none of this is set in stone.
So for fans, everything's better. Plus, the product on the field's going to get a whole lot better.
Exactly.
If you're a fan today, this is a great day.
Great day.
And there's no need to. I mean, sure, is it ridiculous that they're spending $120 million or $130 million on football renovations? Yeah, you could absolutely argue that, but you can't spend other people's money. You just can't. Simple as that, as Coach Smith would say.
Simple as that, as Coach Smith would say. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. It's also gotten to a point where they're spending. Well, whatever. They're spending what the market demands, but that's besides the point. Yeah, you're right. Right. You can't spend someone else's money. And they're not spending more than, this isn't the largest capital project in the athletic department's history. They already did that at State Farm Center. Right? So it's not,
And I'm trying to make an analogy, but I can't think of one right now. But the point you just made about that's just where the market's at. If you're just trying to compete in college football, this is what everybody's doing, so this is what you got to do.
Right.
It's just sort of, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I want to go back to that one word. I think you mentioned it, Peter, earlier in the show, just that material aspect of college football and just college sports in general, where the younger players and the players that are going to be coming in and leading that program, they want to see what's so exciting about that program, whether it's the stadium, the jerseys, the fans. That's what's going to be appealing to players. So just the material aspect is changing here at the university.
That might not make a lot of sense to our older listeners, and I think it makes a ton of sense though to college students. They get it, like especially the jerseys thing. Like I've tried to talk about this with my dad before, and guys from old school guys they don't care. It just doesn't matter.
Right.
But now,
they still want the tearaway jerseys.
Exactly.
Classics.
The hype around these jerseys is ridiculous. Like I'm sorry, Illinois just looks so good right now. I mean, these jerseys are sick.
And the all white, they went this week with white bars on the white helmets, and that was a great addition too. I thought that was a really nice addition. One other thing Whitman pointed out in terms of if we're talking about student athletes, it's worth noting. They're going to come up with a plan for Olympic athletes, for the Olympic sports, non-revenue sports, not basketball, not football, because they want those kids to feel included in the nature of the athletic department's goals, right? So championship football program is absolutely in line with their goals, but Whitman pointed out that for example, that north end zone, once they've filled the south space with the new football stuff, and then the team leaves the north space, that area, those locker rooms, that fitness center will not remain vacant. That will be filled with people or with things. So it remains to be seen what exactly they will do. But he pointed out that they are not yet. They're not intentionally, and they have not left them out to dry.
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting, one final thing, that you talk about how preliminary this is, that they haven't decided all these things.
Right.
I guess I just wonder why they rushed to get the news out so much. I don't know.
Because they need the money?
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Because they want to get a jump on that. It surprises me a little bit that they didn't release this in concurrence with the request for architects and engineers. They offset it by 2 weeks, but whatever.
I don't know.
That's my only piece of confusion is that they didn't release those at the same time. But maybe honestly, maybe they set this mark back in March.
Yeah, and the and so much more about.
We will, right.
Right now, it's just very general. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. By spring, you're going to have a lot of specifics, and you're going to be able to start. They're
presenting it to the board of trustees in the spring. So
yeah.
In the spring, you might really have all of the specifics.
Yeah, and you're going to start to see what this is actually going to look like, and it sounds like it's going to be pretty cool. When we get back, we're going to go to a quick break here. When we get back, plenty of Illini football talk to come. We want to break down that Nebraska game, and then of course look forward a bit to that Purdue game. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Illini Drive on WPGU 107.1.
Hail to the orange. Hail to the blue. Hail alma mater, ever so true. We love no other, so let our motto be victory. Illinois, varsity. Fighting Illini football mini plans start at only $50. Secure your seat today by phone at 1-866-ILLINI1 or online at fightingillini.com.
Illinois hanging in here, trailing just 7-0. Again, little hole opens up here for Foster. To the 15, breaks a tackle. Foster, he'll get in the end zone. Touchdown, Fighting Illini. 31 yards.
Life is older, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, growing like a breeze. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia.
Well, the Illini are coming back from a country road. Maybe not West Virginia, but Nebraska. Anyway, I digress. Close enough they came back on a country road. Well, or maybe just I-80.
Back home to Champaign.
Yeah. Well, they probably had to take some number of country roads. Maybe not. Maybe they went 47 to 80. 47 is a bit of a country road.
Would those Peoria charter buses fit on a country road?
Yeah, I don't even know if they could go on 47. There's some really tight squeezes. I don't know. But I just love that was the bump.
Yeah.
You're listening to Illini Drive here. Give us a call if you want to talk. 217-337-1071. Follow us on Twitter at Illini Drive. We'd love your comments, questions, answer our polls, whatever. Talk to us there. We want to hear it. We do the show now 5 days a week. It's a lot of fun. Monday to Friday, 6 to 7. And, of course, we are re-aired by UPTV every Wednesday at 9. So you can see our pretty faces there. But this Friday, I think we're doing a special show.
You'll see our pretty faces somewhere else.
Where are we going to be?
We're going to be at the Hub.
The Hub.
The Hub.
The Hub?
It's going to be a great time. 6 to 7 at the Hub on Friday. Corner 1st and Healy in Champaign. It is a new bar, opened just over a week ago. Oh, no, not even a week ago. It was open last week or maybe the week before. It's really new. I can't remember exactly when it was open.
And they have the largest TV in Illinois, and you can watch Cubs playoff baseball there on Friday.
Hey.
Ooh.
Hey.
Hey. And listen to our show.
And watch us, too, something you can't get to do every other day.
Yeah, you'll get to come see what we actually look like, whether we're faces made for radio or, in fact, a little more handsome than that.
Or shirtless.
You might be surprised. We have done one show shirtless. We'll be not doing that at the Hub. To be very clear, no, the Hub is a shirt, no shirt, no shoes, no service kind of place. It's a classy establishment.
You're
That's
telling
why
me
we're
the
doing a show
Hub
there.
has air conditioning, Peter?
Yeah.
There's air conditioning at the Hub?
I'm sure there's air conditioning at the Hub. There is air conditioning back at Illini Media now after the hiatus that it took.
It was a long 8 or 9 days.
It was a tough time. But more importantly, about the Hub, it will have some drink deals. It will have some food deals. Taco plates on Fridays.
Tacos. $5.
You can get behind your tacos.
And I heard there might be some special guests. Maybe. There might not be, but there could be.
Yeah, maybe Drizzy, we mentioned earlier in the show. Not sure about that.
Yeah. Maybe Bruce Springsteen.
President Obama considered he hasn't answered his RSVP yet, so we'll see.
Yeah, we are tweeting at Barack Obama, so he might be there. Might not be, but he could be.
Either way, we'll be there, and we would love for you to be there. You can talk to us. We'll probably have a chance of for you to ask us some live questions on the air. Bring your friends. It's a Friday. Purdue's going to be in town. We'll talk about that. We can talk more about this stadium. And hopefully it'll be a really good time. The Hub is excited to host us. We're excited to see them. And it's going to be worth your an hour on your Friday night to come on down and check us out. If you got any questions for us, you can tweet at us about it. Call in if you want to ask a question about the hub. But either way, we will see you there, 6 p.m. Friday, First and Healy, the hub. Back to Illini football, Kev.
Yeah, going to be a lot of fun there. Illini football fans had a decent amount of fun for a while on Saturday. Things got interesting.
Semi-fun, yeah.
Yeah, and then in the end, as things usually go for Illini athletics, it was disappointing, ultimately. But they hung around. Let's just start with an open question here. You can take this any way you want to. Some of your guys' biggest takeaways from the action that you saw on Saturday.
I think there's more reason to be optimistic about Illinois than we had going into this game.
Agreed.
I absolutely think that none of us gave the team enough credit going into the game, and we all thought that they would get absolutely slammed at Nebraska this weekend. They didn't do that. They at least fought for all 4 quarters. They at least had a chance to win the game as well with under 3 minutes to go, but a decision gave the ball away and gave the game away as well. But Illinois football, they showed some fight on the road in the first Big Ten game of the regular season this year, and I'm pleased with what I saw from the team.
Against the top 25 team, no less. Yeah, we were talking a lot the previous week about how much we expected them to get beaten by, and they're 21-point underdogs, 20-point underdogs, and they're going to lose by 30 points. And we were rather dismal last week, I would say, if you had to paint a picture of our show. But yeah, I agree with you, Jeff. I think my biggest takeaway is that the people who were supposed to play well played well, right? Malik Turner had a good game. Dwayne Smoot had a good game. Carroll Phillips, before being injured, had a good game. Worth pointing out today, Lovey said that his injury is not long-term, so we may see him back this week, but even maybe the week after that. But the guys that were supposed to play well played well. The defense had them leading Nebraska at halftime, right? It's no small thing to go into Lincoln and be leading at halftime during homecoming, so yeah, I agree. A lot more positives than negatives. And really, if you look at their schedule as a whole, they've lost to 3 top 25 teams, right? Of their FBS games, they have played the toughest win percentage-wise in the entire country.
Crazy.
14-1. Their FBS opponents are 14-1 and ranked like number 12, number 18, and number 26 or something in the AP poll. 25, and Western Michigan is 25 in the coaches. So, all is not lost.
Yeah, and I think one thing we learned this week is that this Illinois team can compete, at least, in every game this season with the exception of the Michigan game, probably. Michigan's been rolling people, and having to go into Ann Arbor and play at the Big House is going to be tough. But I think we have learned that they will compete. That Nebraska football team is very good, and it's interesting that Illinois came out and surprised us a bit. I think there's still a lot more work to be done, as we heard in today's press conference, but I think they're taking encouraging steps forward. Let's talk about the running back situation. A lot of talk about this on Twitter. A lot of people want to know what the heck is going on. Keyshawn Vaughn only gets one single carry, and now it seems like it's a Reggie Corbin, Kendrick Foster backfield. Peter, thoughts, takeaways?
Interesting that we have no Keyshawn Vaughn really at all.
He was going to be our bell cow, end quote, Lovey Smith.
Yeah, bell cow. And he was practically absent.
He was a mere calf.
Kicks.
He was a mere calf in Lovey Smith's farm animal
stable.
Yeah, in his stable, he was a mere calf. Whereas Reggie and
Corbin
Kendrick
had a career day. Kendrick had a touchdown.
Bell cows.
Both bell cows. So it's interesting to wonder, did Keyshawn fly in the face of someone, did he make someone mad? Has he not been working? Is he out of shape? You wonder. Maybe he's just maybe he's just slumping. Who knows?
Maybe he's not very good right now.
Yeah, sometimes athletes aren't very good right now and are slumping, and that happens to everyone. I wonder if he will work his way back. Lovey said today, I want to see more out of him. I need to see better play. And we will play the guys that we think give us the best chance to win.
Peter, you mentioned it there. I knew something was off from Keyshawn's game, at least when we saw him returning kicks from that first kick off from Nebraska. That's the first thing that I was wondering as well. And in that first possession, we don't see him in the backfield to start off the game. You see Reggie Corbin. And overall, I would say, after looking at the running back position this weekend, I don't think Illinois fans should be concerned that Keyshawn isn't there, just based off the fact that Corbin and Foster did step up and play fine in that position. It seemed like this past weekend. I'd say it's just concerning from a personal standpoint for Keyshawn Vaughn, the starter from last year. Where is he at right now? As Peter says, is it a physical problem? Is he just not there with the team mentally? We don't have that answer, but I think we can at least say with confidence that the other two running backs aren't too much of a drop-off, if a drop-off at all.
They played well. Corbin, I was saying this before the show, Corbin looks like Darren Sproles in Illini pads. He can move, right? This guy just can jump cut and, like, slash, and he's not really a bruiser. He's not going to get a bunch of yards up the gut, but Foster has just looked totally capable and totally competent running the ball to the outside, running the ball to the inside, and,
And he's got that big play capability we've seen on a number of occasions now.
I mean, I don't if you're Lovie Smith and Kendrick and Keenan playing poorly, the only commitment you have to him is what you said at the beginning of the season. So, I guess if you don't care going back again on whatever you said to the media, which Lovie doesn't really care about because whatever, he's going to play the guys that give him a chance at winning.
It doesn't matter what you said. I mean,
right?
All he said was he thought that Keyshawn Vaughn had impressed him a lot. He was going to be our guy. We were going to give him the ball a lot, and that hasn't been working, so they changed plans. It's as simple as that.
To quote Lovie, it's as simple as that. His only highlight this year, Keyshawn's, is really that run against UNC. That's pretty much all we got.
Absolutely, and other than that, I mean, you might be right, Jeff. I don't know if his legs are tired, but he might just be out of shape. Because right now we just haven't seen the explosiveness, with the exception of that run where not like I could have ran into the house, but any of the other two backs.
It was a hole. Yeah,
right. It was wide open. It wasn't like Keyshawn Vaughn created that play.
It's a short. It's a long season. I mean, it's shorter than we think, but it's things could change. We will see. Westland played better than I thought, though, this week.
Before we put a nail in this coffin on the topic, I just want to say how surprised I am with Reggie Corbin. Just the fact that a third-string guy that we probably did not expect to see at all this year behind Kendrick and Keyshawn, he really stepped up this past weekend and showed that he could catch the ball running out of the backfield. He could just run as well, and I think he seems to be a really dangerous offensive player for the Illini and someone that they could depend on for some big play opportunities.
Yeah, Darren Sproles was a good comparison. Maybe a Jaquiz Rogers, somebody like that.
Shane Vereen. A Deion Lewis.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of Patriots guys there.
To an extent. Josh is a better between the tacklers runner.
Ferg was bigger, but I understand the comparison.
Corbin can cut.
Yeah. Dude can cut a rug out there, man. I haven't seen him on the dance floor, but he can move. He's very shifty.
See on the dance floor, folks, is Kevin McCarthy.
It's unreal. We're going to go to a quick break. When we get back, we'll dance through this fourth segment, I'm sure. Plenty more talk about this Illini football team. There's more Nebraska talk. I want to break down a couple of specific calls. I know some fans were upset with them not going forward on fourth and one with the call that wasn't overturned after the replay. A lot of people hoped it was. So there's plenty to talk about with that game. Then we'll move forward to Purdue. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Illini Drive on WPGU 107.1.
WPGU 107.1.
See that Caleb Swanigan eligible by the NCAA. Big run on first down. Keyshawn Vaughn down the sideline. Vaughn all the way. Touchdown, Illinois. 78 more for Keyshawn Vaughn.
Yo. Oh, that scared me for a second. Yo. Will Gerard with those beats, man.
Fresh beats.
Dude, that
cooked him up in the kitchen on the way over.
Absolutely. That's the vibes I'm looking for, man.
Between Country Road and that, I don't really know if we could have a more musically flavorful Illini Drive.
Dude, I was going to say a musically diverse. I mean, I think we've hit both ends of the spectrum. We're just trying to appeal to our broad audience here.
That's why we invited Drizzy and Bruce Springsteen to come to the Hub on Friday.
Yes, which is where we'll be broadcasting on Friday. We've also invited the President of the United States, Barack Obama. He might be there.
Might be there. He hasn't said no.
He hasn't said no. He might be there. You might think it's unlikely. You might think that, but he hasn't said no yet.
He has not said no.
Hey, you're listening to Illini Drive on WPGU 107.1, brought to you by the Illinois Fighting Illini. For tickets and information on the Illini, visit fightingillini.com or call 1-866-ILLINI1. Once again, fightingillini.com or call 1-866-ILLINI1 for more ticket information. I was about to go, as soon as I said 8-6, I was about to 8-6-7-5-3-0-9. I was so close, but I didn't.
How much money would you have to pay to get that phone number? Or how much money would you have to pay someone to take that phone number from you? I don't know. Maybe it's not a desirable one because it's dialed so much.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, imagine if you had that, if you're a Champaign area code.
How many
217-867-5309.
How many loser middle schoolers are like, I'm going to call 867-5309, see if anybody picks up.
Hey, I was thinking we should. So you making fun of me or something?
So call in to the Illini Drive, 217-867-5309.
Our actual number is 217-337-1071. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, we would. Stadium, talk to us about new stadium. Talk to us about that Nebraska loss. Talk to us about a upcoming Purdue game, which is what we got up next on our Illini docket.
Yes, Purdue, interesting game. This Purdue team,
winnable game,
very winnable,
quite winnable.
The Illini are currently 10-point favorites. All right, I shouldn't say currently. The last time I checked a few hours ago, they were 10-point favorites.
Last time the bookie called.
Absolutely, of course, I have my own bookie. This Purdue team. Underwhelming, to say the least. They're bad right now, and Illinois should...
As opposed to when they aren't bad?
Well, they're always bad. I mean, since Drew Brees and Kyle Orton... I mean, first of all, Purdue is quarterback U. I want to make that very clear.
Quarterback U. Interesting. 2 former Purdue quarterbacks in the SEC right now.
Yes.
Between Danny Etling and Austin Appleby.
Further proving my...
double check this, but I'm like 99% right. Sure.
No, you're right, and that further proves my point that Purdue is quarterback U. A lot of people talk about this. Where is quarterback U? Some people say NC State because Russell Wilson went there. Philip Rivers.
Jacoby Brissett.
You get
of Patriots.
Jacoby Brissett.
This weekend.
But they were bad.
Just the worst.
But Purdue is quarterback U, so don't undermine them. But maybe you should because they're actually a really bad football team right now.
They actually stink.
And so I don't know. Early on, we're 5 days away from the game. But what are you guys thinking moving into this game on Saturday? What do you want to see from Illinois?
Well, I'm more interested to see what turnout we get from the fans in this game after the teams had a really rough couple of weeks. Although they're coming off a really strong performance against Nebraska, I want to see how many people are interested to see this team coming back now, especially with the excitement maybe being around the program with the renovations happening to the State Farm Center. That's what I'm looking forward to. Sorry, yep, exactly. There you go again. Just the State Farm Center immediately popping into my head when I hear the word renovation. But that's what I'm looking forward to just because there should not be much of a game happening on the field, as we're mentioning here, just with the skill difference between these two teams.
Any chance the renovations are done by Saturday? I couldn't say that with a straight face.
Well, what did you tweet before the press conference? Josh is just going to, throw on, a tank top and, grab, a sledgehammer.
And just go to work.
Is going to be done by, next weekend.
Yes.
Josh Whitman is going to build the Memorial Stadium renovations by himself.
Yeah. Hey, any chance we can have this done by, I don't know, Dad's weekend? Is there any?
Come on, Josh. Go to work. You're a big guy.
That's not 2 months. That's 4 weeks from now, Josh. You got time.
Yeah,
4.5.
Yeah, exactly. I think this Purdue game, I'm looking for a rout. Looking for a real Big Ten rout for Lovie Smith. Really get the juices flowing. Get West Lunt throwing a bomb. This has got to be it doesn't have to be, but personally, it would be real nice to get just a totally kick the snot out of Purdue. We need one of those games.
I could see it happening.
I could see it happening too. I think it'd be really interesting to just, if they let West go this weekend, a Malik Turner on one of those fly routes, just air it out a few times, man.
Stretch the elbows, stretch the shoulder, and just zing.
Yeah, on a 1st and 10, you go a simple play action half. It's going to be a little halfback stretch. Oh, wait, no, it's not. Malik's going deep, 50-yard bomb. Take it to the house, and 40-some thousand people at Memorial Stadium get to go nuts for a few seconds. I would love to see that. Just open up the playbook a little, have some fun, get your fans energized, and really... honestly, run up the score if you can. I don't know if it's going to be a game where you have that opportunity, but just kick the pants off of these guys.
Illinois football running up the score. How about that?
Well, they did a little. Well, not that much against Murray State, but
it's odd because we're sort of used to talking about must-win games because we've had coaches have to have must-win games in the last few years with what we've experienced here. And so, it's stupid to say Lovie Smith has must-win games now because he doesn't.
He doesn't for another year and a half or two.
Yeah, exactly. He could go 0-11 and just there's no must-win games this year. But if any of them are games that he should win, games that he
needs to win.
I don't know. It's what's a sort of more neutral word that still implies that it's a good thing to do.
It'd be really, 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 really good if you won the game. I don't know.
You probably just shouldn't lose. How about that?
Yeah, probably. This is a game they should not lose. That's a good way to put it. This is a game they should not lose. Dino's been bad. Just bad Dino.
What do we expect from...
Wow, why did I say Dino? Oh, because Dino Babers coaches for Syracuse, and I was watching the Syracuse. I meant Darrell Hazel.
Darrell Hazel.
My mistake, folks.
I was a little confused, but I just let it roll.
Yeah, I was watching the Syracuse game this weekend and was thinking of Dino Babers.
What can we expect from this Illinois offense this week? What do you, game plan-wise, what do you think? We saw a lot of the running game this past week. We saw a little less Wes Lunt. That's a different defense. A lot
less
different.
Wes? I think we might see...
More Wes?
More Wes?
More
Maybe.
Wes.
Or we'll just see Reggie Corbin. This will be the Reggie Corbin game. Somebody's got to have a game. We haven't had, no one has had a game yet.
Yeah. Well, Kendrick Foster kind of owned the Murray State game.
He maybe had a game. I want somebody to have a game.
One thing I do want to say from today's press conference that we learned is that Wes is super comfortable in that no-huddle offense that you saw so often against Nebraska.
More.
And he's not a guy to say a whole lot to the media, but he will talk about that no-huddle offense.
He likes that a lot more, yeah.
He really does. He's very genuine about that. And, I don't know what it was that took them 3 weeks to realize what they had in their personnel. I don't know.
Yeah, they're not starting tight ends. They didn't list starting tight ends on this depth chart. So
yeah, they're going to spread the ball out a little bit more.
And they've been using Nate Eckert a lot more. He caught a nice pass up the middle, up the seam. That's the Gronk route that he ran the other day. Somebody have a game. Somebody do the Julio Jones
300 yards.
We haven't had anyone capable of having a game since Mike Dudek left.
Yeah.
He didn't leave. Poor guy got injured. We've talked about him today, actually, a little bit. Lovey mentioned still no timetable. He's improving every day. He is as engaged as he could be. Garrick McGee went on to point out later, there's a certain point of diminishing returns where we won't bring him back.
Of course.
But he didn't say what that was, and he also didn't say that we had gotten to that point. So,
especially on a season that is lost if you're a few weeks down the road.
Yeah, I don't really know. I would imagine he would qualify for some sort of sixth-year red shirt if he really wants to kind of push it to that level. But either way, he's still got at least 2 more years of eligibility, even if he doesn't get an extra year because of this.
One thing... Oh, you got it, Jeff?
No, you got it, Kevin.
One thing I've been thinking about that I took away from today's press conference is I like the fluidity in this coaching staff, the willingness to change. I am so against system coaches, and I know you feel me on this, Peter, as a Patriots fan.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick has never been a system guy. He looks at his personnel week by week. He looks at his opponent and changes the game plan based on that. You get a ton of different looks from a team like the Patriots. It's never been... Lovie Smith has been a system guy most of his career. In the NFL...
Run the football and take the ball away.
Yeah, and in the NFL, he always was running the cover, too. I mean, of course, they ran the nickel package.
Defense is a little bit different. It's worth noting, but yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, he's always kind of been that system guy. Now he's showing his willingness to change. Garrick McGee has shown his willingness to change.
Garrick McGee is I have a good point after this.
All I was going to say is that basically he admitted that he didn't do a very good job through 3 weeks.
Sure.
And in the bye week, he noticed some things about his personnel and said, we need to make some changes. They made those changes, and they looked a whole lot better. Which I just think if you're an Illini fan, it's nice to know that your coaching staff is not set in their ways. They're willing to change for what's best for this football team.
I think for the first time this year that Illini offense almost looked dangerous in a way.
Yeah.
To where I was excited for the next play to see what was going to happen.
They stalled at times, but I agree with you. Yeah, it was this isn't just going to be it's 3rd and long, and I don't just think this is going to be a sack.
Or I was going to say, or another check down.
Yeah,
just under a lot of pressure and check down to Reggie.
Well, I asked McGee about this today, and, we've got to wrap up, so I'll make this quick, about whether he was encouraging Wes to scramble more, and he said, I encourage him to do anything he needs to do to win. I think in the past, and I said, because he hasn't run. That West Lent 15-yard scramble or whatever he did was like, what? That was like so foreign.
Usain Bolt?
Yeah, so foreign to the Illinois offense. But, he's a college athlete. If he has to scramble, he can scramble for 5 yards or whatever.
He's 6'4", 5". His legs are super long.
Under the circumstances, he can scramble under the dire circumstances. And McGee pointed out maybe he's been encouraged not to scramble by previous coaches because they're worried about him getting hurt or something. And he said, and I just tell him, this is McGee to Wes, I just tell him, let her rip. Do whatever you crawl, stumble, jump, dive, just, do whatever you have to do.
Absolutely.
And that seems to be taken on, that the playbook seems to be taking on a little bit of that mentality.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is good. Better than the alternative.
It certainly is.
Better than the boring.
And you're listening to Champagne's Alternative, WPGU 107.1. I just had to say that, but we got to go, actually. This Friday, we will be broadcasting. I know we've said it a million times. I got to say it again. We'll be broadcasting live from the Hub on the corner of 1st and Healy. It's an awesome place over there. Biggest TV in the state of Illinois. They'll be playing Cubs playoff baseball on Friday, but I think the main attraction will be us, of course. So drop by, listen to our show on Friday at the Hub, 6 to 7. They got great drink deals. They got taco plates for $5. Other food deals. We're going to be there. Bruce Springsteen may or may not be there. Drizzy might be there. We tweeted at Obama. All these people might be there.
No one has said no.
No one has said they might not be there, but nobody has said no.
No one has RSVP'd no.
At least we know that you can be there.
Yeah.
You, our faithful listener, or
you might
listeners.
be, if those celebrities don't show up, you might be the biggest celebrity there. Listener.
Absolutely.
You might end up being the biggest celebrity there. Think about that.
I don't know who you are right now listening, but you could be the Bruce Springsteen of the night, the Drizzy of the night. Otherwise, it's probably me.
You could be the hub of the hub. I think that's a good way to put it.